Hello and welcome to SideDish, your podcast about Longmont. Everything that you want to know and very little that you need to know. Today we are on location from Unity in the Community, joined by all sorts of political nonsense.
Who are you?
I am Brady Steffel. Oh, yeah, as always. I'm on location, and I'm distracted by everything. I am your host, as always, Brady Steffel, joined, as always, by the intrepid
Annie Larner.
There we are. Here we are. Now we're in. And, today we're going to be doing a series of interviews with local politicians, people that are already elected, and people that would like to be elected. Right?
Yep.
That's the gist.
That's what's up. We're in the Public Policy Plaza.
We are in the Public Policy Plaza.
Which is real cute.
Yeah. So, yeah, very alliterative.
And should we get going? Because we're already late.
We should probably get going.
We're on SideDish time.
We're going to introduce Scott Cook, who's here to introduce us and what's going on. Right?
What up, Scott Cook?
Hey.
Who you be?
I am Scott Cook. I'm the CEO here at the Longmont Chamber. Is that better?
There you go.
Okay. All right.
What Johnny
now you
has
can hear
told us
me.
multiple times is this is an ice cream cone and that's a microphone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like,
make
sure you get it right.
I want an ice cream cone.
I would like an ice cream cone too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think there are ice cream cones around here.
Well, I hope so. A little bit later.
Maybe I'll go get you guys one after I'm done. Yeah.
So what are we doing here today? Who are you? What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, this is Unity in the Community. This is our Public Policy Plaza. So we have a public policy committee at the chamber, and we regularly look at different things that are going on in the city and the state. And so for Unity this year, since we've got all these city council candidates, we thought, let's put a whole plaza together. And so we've got a lot of the candidates here, giving the opportunity for residents to talk to them and ask them all sorts of questions. And I'm hoping there'll actually be some difficult questions, too, for them.
Well, I hope so, too.
Do you have difficult questions for them?
I have several questions.
Really?
Brady's intending to be much more mean than
layers and layers of questions.
Oh, really? Okay, great.
We'll see how many we have time to get to, but it'd be ideal if we could get to some substantive things. But also, it's nice to get to know people.
This is true.
Yeah. So that's
and there are some interesting people running.
Are there?
Yeah, because I've had conversations with a few of them, and they have some good points, and they're interesting people. Yeah.
In the Midwest, interesting is not always a good thing.
Are we in the Midwest?
No.
I would say in the Midwest, where I come from, they go, "Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of that.
We're
Western.
Western.
Well,
yeah. Front range.
Maybe you can help me figure that out.
Well, we'll figure it out
as we go forward. Whether Scott meant interesting in that way or in a good way.
I guess that's what we're here to learn today.
Right. In the interest of time, where's Mayor Peck? She's not on time.
I think she's waiting for her ride Longmont.
All right. Well, anything else you want to plug about the chamber? Good job putting this event on. This is quite a feat.
Hey, well, thank you. Yes, the weather. I said some extra prayers for the weather, as I know some other people did as well. So it did rain a bit, but now the sun is out. So we really encourage everybody to come on downtown Longmont. This is our Unity in the Community event. We've got over 135 different businesses and organizations here with lots of fun activities. There's a climbing wall. There's a dunk tank. There's food. There's all kinds of fun things to do right here. Unity is free. Come on down. Enjoy it. Bring the kids.
Have a good time.
Have a good time.
Learn about your community. Well, there we go. You want to break into the first session?
I think so. We're ready for our first crew. So we're going to be talking for the first half hour to elected officials. We will then move on to Ward 2 candidates, and followed by at-large candidates, mayoral candidates, and then Brady and I are going to get a drink.
Yeah, I think well deserved at that point. After my
got
brains
lots
are
of
pushed
choices
through the meat
for you.
grinder. Well, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll make
Thanks,
some space
Brady.
for our,
Thanks, Annie.
Thank you, Scott.
for elected officials.
While we're waiting, you got any buzz?
Do I have any buzz?
Yeah, you got any buzz?
I feel like all I've done really is study.
You've been
I've just
heads
been
down.
studying. Yeah, I've been all political. I've been like a good citizen.
I got something.
What's that?
I heard Longmont Liquor sold. No, is it Longmont Liquor? Which was the one at Second and Main that's in the barn?
Oh, the
Liquor
red one.
Depot.
Liquor Depot.
They sold.
Liquor Depot.
Now under new management.
Oh, it's still selling liquor?
Yeah, it's still selling liquor.
Okay, well, that's good, I
Yeah.
guess.
But that's like Scott, or is it, what's his name? McGalveroy or whatever. He's super involved downtown and everything, and they sold the liquor store.
Oh,
That's,
lobby.
that's the only buzz I have. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello.
Come on in. So we have Claire Levy and Diane Christ, I believe. And we're hoping to see Mike Doherty? Well, he's scheduled, so hopefully he actually comes on by. And we're also looking for Marta. And can you pronounce her name for me? Because Marta? Okay. So Claire Levy, we'll start with you. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go around, spend a real quick time. Come on in. Yeah, we got to get cozy.
Guys, microphone. This is an ice cream cone. This is a microphone. If you don't talk good, we will not hear you. You need to hold it up a little bit.
This way, too.
Up a little bit. Thank you.
Into, yeah, there we go. Into, not across, is what he always tells me. Says, behave for me, I'll get upset with you. At any rate, here we are. We are with starting off with Claire Levy, County Commissioner, and we're going to learn what a County Commissioner is because I think a lot of us are thick-witted numbskulls who don't know a lot about the government or how it operates. Claire is an Indiana native who tried out a couple other states like Minnesota and Ohio before finally deciding on Colorado, correct? More or less. It's not meant to be entirely accurate. We're sort of a pseudo-news system here, and we're honest about that. Her profile on bouldercounty.org says she enjoys the wilderness, open spaces, reading fiction, and spending time with her dog. So with so many hobbies that are grounded in avoiding people, can you tell me why you got into politics and just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, we better really update that bio. Yeah, first of all, Claire Levy, Boulder County Commissioner, and moved to Colorado in 1982, actually, from law school in Cleveland, Ohio. Grew up in Indiana. I do love spending time outdoors. I also like people a lot, and but I actually, so I've been a county commissioner. I'm in the beginning of my second term, and before that, I was a practicing lawyer. Actually, before I was a practicing lawyer, but I also was elected to the state legislature representing Boulder County, Gilpin, Clear Creek, Jackson, and Grand. And then spent some time as the executive director of a nonprofit organization. But I was hoping to be able to share with your listeners that Boulder County will have a measure on the ballot this November all across the county to ask the voters whether they would support a tax to fund mental health services in Boulder County.
And I absolutely know that that's something you want to talk about. So as we cycle back, that's what I want to make sure that you have time to talk about.
Great, perfect.
That's all right. So yeah, we like that. And I just wanted to know, Annie would say, what is your preferred Longmont demonym, which is a hoity-toity way of saying, what do you call somebody from Longmont?
Oh, God. Whatever I say, is I'm going to offend somebody. As a former Bloomingtonian, maybe a Longmontonian?
You can stay.
This is a hill that Annie is willing to climb and die on. I'm fine with Longmonster. That's just good for me. But I'm not too picky.
You might be the only one that says
Whatever
that
you want to
today.
go with is just fine. I didn't have time to write up snazzy intros for everybody, so apologies if people feel left out. But Marta, by contrast to Claire over here, you're a Boulder resident whose Facebook page would indicate that you really like to get out of the city. You spend a ton of time in the county. There's just photos of you out in the county doing stuff everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's meant to be a gentle poke and not like an accusation of.
And just to clarify, I'm a Longmont resident.
Well, you got to update your profile then. There's some
Mine
profile
is-
somewhere that's not up to date.
I lived in Boulder for a short time while I was a CU Boulder undergrad. That was a minute ago, but I'm willing to check it out.
We should definitely look at your.
We
if that's
definitely
wrong,
need to do that.
I read a lot of stuff, and I got a brain like Swiss cheese.
Earlier today, Brady said the best way to find out what's right is to say what's wrong.
Yeah, so
It keeps us engaged.
Yeah, it keeps
I
us
like this
engaged.
dialogue.
Yeah, so then you know exactly. So my first question is, meeting so many constituents, what's Smokey the Bear like behind the camera?
I don't get the reference. I know who Smokey the Bear is.
Well, there was a photo of, I believe it was you on your Facebook page.
I
posing
was
with
just
Smokey
going to
the Bear.
ask, does this have anything to do with our Boulder County mountains? Yes. That was a super exciting, actually, event.
Yeah.
annual picnics. Our fire protection districts have these amazing, very, like, if you think of small town, hometown picnics, gatherings, communities together, but also talking about resources. A lot of the work that I've been able to do here when I worked for a stint at City of Longmont was in regards to flood recovery, emergency preparedness for the state, for DOLA, the Division of Local Affairs. And so I've been very interested in that work as well. And we got there, and out popped Smokey the bear, and it was like, I am going to get a picture with this bear. And me and the kids were like running together.
You had so many like really sincere, genuine moments on your Facebook of like, here I am with this, and we're doing great work in the community, and it's like, what's something like completely insane that I can poke you about and just push you off balance with right off the bat, because that's how we roll.
I appreciate it.
What would you then call somebody from Longmont? Annie's got her thing. We've got Claire over here with,
So I believe this is a chamber event, in which case Long Monster would be the appropriate term.
I think it's up to you. You can go with what you want.
It is subjective.
I'm not critical. And then our last but not least is Diane Christ, who's of Ward 1. Diane is a local business owner, has been in Longmont for over 30 years. Yep. I have not. I'm working toward it. I'll get there someday. We're all lucky, right? On top of that, you've been a local business owner, and now you, like I said, represent Ward 1. And you seem to have a big focus on transit and transportation. That's my takeaway.
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. So, yeah, I don't have a funny story about you. You don't have quite as many photos of you with, Smokey the Bear or like, so it was difficult to find that. But what would you say is the Longmont demonym then, if we're going around with that question?
Well, let me first say I've been here long enough to call us Coloradoans.
Coloradoans?
And I've always just used Longmonter.
Longmonter?
Oh, look, we're so diverse up here. Look at this.
We're just all across the board, all kinds of different things happening. So we got pretty much something for everybody. And now I didn't do a good job putting these all on note cards like a fancy guy would. But so we'll start off then. And I know, Claire, so long as we're good on time, I wanted to make sure that we can take a second to talk about, before we get into, I know you want to talk about mental health tax, what is a county commissioner? I'll ask you both. And what do you do? Because I know that we see that, and Annie and I were both a little civically stumped, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, if you want to know what a county commissioner is, you're looking at two here. So that's a representative sample. We are elected officials who are the best way to describe us is the chief executive officers of Boulder County. We govern Boulder County. And what we do is we go to meetings. We go to a lot of meetings. No, we make all the policy decisions, the budget. We pass the budget for Boulder County. We make decisions about our like open space policies, our personnel policies. Each of us sit on different external committees. So with Diane's interest in transportation, I have been our representative to the Denver Regional Council of Governments for the last 4+ years. Mayor Peck sits on that. All the communities in the area have a seat on that, and we make decisions about transportation funding through that organization. So we do zoning decisions for Boulder County. We have over 100,000 acres of open space, 25,000 of which is ag land. So we are stewards of open space. There's a whole, and I don't want to leave out, actually, one of the most important things we do is provide the human services safety net programs that help people in Boulder County. These are all the food assistance, enrollment in Medicaid, child care assistance. So
and is that because
we
they
do
don't
a ton?
Do they not get access to that if they're in the county? Normally they would get that from a city that they're in, but if you're in the county, you go to the county for it?
Yeah, we do. So cities don't do that. Counties, we do it for all the people in the county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no matter where you live.
No matter where you live.
Gotcha, because it's at the county level. Gotcha,
And
thank you.
do you have anything to add, Marta?
Oh, that was a great summary. And just to give folks a scope, it's a $600 million budget, 2,700 employees, everything from land use to some of those public services like SNAP, things that you're hearing in the news like Head Start, and the way food security, and certainly the agricultural land that Claire touched on, and our ability to be self-sufficient should we need to in Boulder County. We'd have a great opportunity to be partners in that.
So what are the most pressing concerns that you see for the next year or 10 years as a county commissioner? What do you think is like really facing us as a community in the county?
So my perspective is very unique from the elected officials in Boulder County. As a person of color, as part of our delegation, my perspective is coming from the fact that our federal administration right now is attacking Black and brown bodies every day around this country. We are currently considering building a detention center, an immigration detainee hold center, all of those pieces that are connected to the fear of people being removed, disappeared, is creating fear for all of our agriculture work, our workforce, our services that we're trying to distribute. So when I'm working with nonprofits, when I'm working with all of our partners, our Human Services Alliance, all of the impacts are directly connected to the fear that the federal administration is creating right now and distracting us from understanding what policies will really affect us. The tariffs that are occurring, if you saw the news in the last couple of days, and the Walmarts that are being closed down around the country, food security is a significant issue and should be a concern for all of us. And that is just, for me, that's something from federal funding, state funding, and how that's going to affect us in local government is going to be the topic of conversation over the next 3.5 years.
Yeah. And I mean, that's very much, we're looking for individual viewpoints in this conversation. Like, definitely want to hear these views. Same question. What do you think is Claire, what do you think is the most pressing thing happening? What challenges do we face over the next 1 to 10 years?
Sure. I think what Marta was saying about the fear that is being created by the federal government right now, and the ripple effects of that throughout our community. But I think as I mentioned, Boulder County is responsible for providing the safety net programs that keep people housed, that keep food on the table, that get them enrolled in childcare and Medicaid. And what we're seeing come down the pike is the potential for many thousands of people to lose access to health care. We're looking at policy changes that will mean that low-income people who are currently living in our community, thanks to the availability of federal housing vouchers, we'll see those vouchers be pulled, and they'll suddenly be expected to afford market rate when they're maybe working 1 or 2 jobs. So I am really, really concerned about the welfare of the people, not just Boulder County, but all across the country.
And I definitely feel what both of you are saying, because I work for a nonprofit, and there have been funding cuts, and we've felt squeezes, and we've even heard about, as we try to do outreach within communities of color, experiencing a lot of difficulties making connections, much more so than we did a few years ago, because people were...
I'll just add into that. I think the issue we have right now is, as a local government, really trying to figure out how do we maintain trust with people to get services, access to health care, all these different pieces that are going to be affected. And it's going to be very difficult. If we look at what the federal government is threatening to do around census and the changes in census, that directly affects all of us, from voting, from Congress, from access to all of the different services that Clara was just talking about. So these impacts are very real, and they're going to be very significant.
Thank you both for being so candid. Diane.
Yes.
Hello. You're from Longmont, so I didn't want to be in the Boulder County, but I was curious if I could get just information about then what does the city council, what do you do there? What is your role?
Okay, well, we're a home rule city, so we actually have quite a wide bandwidth. I wanted to speak to Commissioner Loachman's comment about food security that recently came before council. And in my ward, we have a farm that's actually open space. It's being farmed, but it's set to be a park, and we'd like to see that turned into a farm park. I think it'd be instructional for children, but also help with our food security going forward. We've been trying to upgrade and enhance business opportunities. My ward goes all the way into Weld County, so I have two sets of commissioners if I care to care to go to all the meetings, and two representatives and one senator in my district. So it's been interesting, and one of the things that I started out when I was running in 23 was to talk about the blighted Safeway on the northeast side of town, which now we have, after going through 3 prospects, we've gotten someone to buy the spot and begin to renovate it. So at Extended Recreation Services, which is also a problem we have in Longmont, is to get city services to all corners of our town and to have equitable access for neighborhoods. Now, with the Mayor Pro Tem, Susie Hidalgo-Faring, we're also extending library service out into that quadrant. So these are things that we're doing at the city level, and it really has more to do with the people in our neighborhoods. We're the voice of our neighborhoods, especially if we're ward representatives.
So I wanted to take a different tack, since we're talking to so many potential people that are going to be on the city council, right? So try to give a little bit of the same question areas that we would have for them. So I wanted to say or ask, if push came to shove, dramatic cuts to the city budget, what are the elements that you would fight tooth and nail to save if the city budget were really getting carved up?
Well, I think the core services are, of course, what we have to keep. And Longmont is particular in that we have our own water, we have our own electricity, we have our fiber optic. All of that is necessary service. Beyond that, I think we really have to work on building business, because the business owner is the best community member that we have. They save all their money that they make is spent within the town, and sponsor teams for the schools, offer quite a lot to the community and the neighborhoods. And I should say, I'm actually also a candidate for mayor, so I think I got put in this just as a voice for the city level.
Sure. Well,
maybe you had an extra seat.
Who knows? It's been a busy planning session, and I hate to. We're so pressed for time. And Claire, I know that you wanted to talk about the mental health tax, and I want to make sure that we have space to get into that. So if you would, can you tell us about that? What that would mean? How that would impact people? What services we'd be talking about?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks for making time for that. Currently there's no dedicated funding for mental health in Boulder County, and we all know, and we've known for decades, that the state of Colorado is one of the most poorly funded states for mental health in the country. Just like with education, we often rank very, very last for funding for mental health services. And that's manifesting in our community in the form of high rates of depression, high rates of suicide, high rates of youth suicide, depression, anxiety. And people have been calling for years for us to do something about it. And so it's time to do that. And so what we're proposing is a 0.15% sales tax that, as currently what's going to be on the ballot, would be for a period of 5 years, during which time we would look at what we're able to fund, what we're able to achieve with that money, whether we need to make some changes, and then go back to the voters and say, look, do you like what we've been able to do, and do you think we should do this for a longer period of time? So we're looking at putting that money out into the community. The projections are, I'm going to say, $13.8 million in the first year of funding, and a little of that, about a little over $2 million of that, would be spent by Boulder County on Boulder County run services, but the rest of that would go into the community and increase the access to care that people have been asking us for.
Well, thanks for clearing that up. And I want to make sure that people know about what's going on the ballot. Marta, I'm struck by your comment about cultural brokers. Yeah, and I was wondering if you'd give us just a little bit of information about how you view cultural brokers and why they're so important.
Yeah, thank you. You did do your research.
Try to.
I would encourage anybody who hasn't taken a look at the information about cultural brokering to please look at the City of Longmont website. It is still there. It's called Resiliencia para Todos, which is resiliency for all. And while I was over here in Community Neighborhood Resources, one of the projects I did was a cultural brokering project that now has training resources. There's videos on there. It'd be very helpful to understand the current impacts of what's happening right now. That was all in the realm of natural disasters and what that means. But a cultural broker is really the person that connects for a service, for an industry, for a provider, from community members. And it could be, a lot of people have a reaction like, oh, cultural, you mean Spanish speakers. And the reality is when the flood hit, we were working with Jamestown. And mountain folks, I'm told, there's a reason why they moved to the mountains. And that is a different culture, the same way that youth, the same way that aging adults. And so we really need folks who are experts in those different areas. And so I should offer that because there's a ton of learnings and there's opportunity to do your own inventory and learn from that resiliency for all of the training materials that still exist there as resources, and we still share them out today.
Right. It speaks to a level of cultural fluency in addition to maybe linguistic fluency.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
And then make sure we give a little bit more space. So much of the conversation among the candidates that are running now is about housing prices, availability, and that. So I'm wondering what your take is on the state of housing affordability and the capacity of young people to be able to buy their first home or to just even live in a city like this or somewhere in the county. Like, what is your stance? Do you believe that young people are capable of this today, or do you think that it's something that's out of reach?
Well, I think you said the magic word. Affordability is the issue. When we look at the apartment complexes, particularly within my ward, they're all now leasing, but they're very expensive. They're saying that 80% AMI is $2,700. That's a very big ticket. And so we have to work on when we build to do in the right place, but also the right project, and especially the right time. Building when everything is so, inflated was part of the problem.
Right. And did you have any? I know our producer's giving us the wrap-up signal,
He's
saying basically, this is great, but you got to kill it. Did you have any, like, in 30 seconds, anything that you would say are these are the top line things that we should do to really make sure that people can find a home, make the county more affordable?
Longmont's known for its innovation, and Prospect is a good example of innovative building, and we can do that again. And so we need to put our heads together and be more strategic about how we build.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, y'all. Welcome. These are the candidates for City Council Ward 2, which is roughly the, southwest-ish third of Longmont, kind of.
The whole south.
Southwest, the wannabe Boulder part of Longmont.
It's the wannabe South by Southwest, really.
Yeah, exactly. South by Southwest, exactly. Longmont's. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys each quickly, we're going to go right down the line, starting with whoever. And I want to hear your name, quickly, your neighborhood that you're from. You don't have to give us your Addy. It's all right. Just your neighborhood. Your favorite Longmont demonym. And as a definition, that means, like, what do you call someone from Longmont? Thumbs up or thumbs down on Monty the Long Monster. And then real quick, the single most important issue that you're running on. We'll start with you over there.
All right. I'm Teresa Simpkins. I live in Watersong.
Where's that?
It is in South Longmont, just
South by Southwest.
just south of Left Hand Creek. And I'm sorry,
what's your favorite Longmont demonym?
Okay, I'm with you on Long Monster. I don't use it all the time, but it is my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of Monty, I just gotta say. He kind of creeps me out a little bit, sorry.
It's not a trick question. This is just subjective and fair, and get it out there.
And the main thing I'm running on is representation.
Okay, thank you.
I am Meg Thornberry. I am in the Fox Ridge Apartments, so I am just right off of the diagonal, which is lovely. I kind of prefer Longmonter, although I do love the image of a Longmonster. But I am myself a Niotian by youth. So, and yeah, I am running, speaking of youth, primarily to focus on our youth and make sustainable decisions with them in mind.
And hi, Matthew Popkin. I live in Southmore Park, right next to the Kanemoto Park and the tower there that just was designated as a historic icon in the state. I like to say Longmont resident. It's more syllables, but that's where I go. I think of Philly fanatic when I think of Long Monster, and that's not what I think about for our community. The single biggest issue I think that defines Ward 2 and frankly the city is managing how and where we grow.
All right, well done. You guys are efficient. We've budgeted time, and you're being very efficient. Thank you. All right, I'm going to start over here with Matthew Popkins. Hi.
No S. You don't want too many of me.
Matthew Popkin?
Yeah.
Thank you. Those are some serious curls you've got.
Thank you.
Can I touch them?
Sure.
Jeez Louise.
And you can dunk them at 7 today.
How do you manage those?
A little sea salt spray.
Sea salt.
Yeah.
Okay. Sea salt spray. Yeah. Got a special product you want to recommend?
Nope.
Nope. Just keep it in mind. I'll get a little frizzy with this humidity. Well, thanks.
You think this is humid? I grew up in the East Coast.
Oh, you did?
Teresa and I actually grew up in the same city, in Maryland.
Same hometown.
Yeah.
What is
We went to
this?
rival high schools.
5 miles apart.
Yeah.
No way.
Yep.
Where?
Rockville, Maryland.
Okay.
And there's a lot more humidity there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't go back
so
to
it was even
Rockville.
curlier.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your vision for Longmont for the next 10 to 20 years?
What is my vision for Longmont? So when I think about, the first time I was ever driving through Longmont with my wife, we were driving down 119 or up 119, whatever direction that makes sense, and we passed the sugar mill for the first time. And I looked at that and said to her, oh, that's disgusting. And that's going to be one of the coolest places on the Front Range in the next decade. And so if I had to say what my vision was for Longmont, it's a future city that has taken control of how and where we grow and shaped exactly what kind of placemaking and future housing and commercial that we all want in the same place. We are taking pressure off of existing neighborhoods, and we're building the type of innovative space that attracts people from across town, from across the region, and is just a place where people live here. And that's going to happen between the sugar mill and our lower downtown near First and Main, probably working its way over to the River District. But that's going to define the future of Longmont. And if we don't take control of that and drive that future, it probably won't happen, because that's something that requires intentionality, and it requires people being proactive and knowing the urban renewal tools that exist for these challenging sites, because it does cost money to do that. But it also costs money and sanity and our livelihoods if we don't do that. And we're seeing that firsthand when we let development happen to us and not taking control of that.
In commercial real estate, there's a term called tenant mix, and now the cool young commercial landlords, they don't call it tenant mix anymore, they call it placemaking. I like how you dropped that. Placemaking. You're very cool. All right.
Thank you.
What is your vision for Longmont for the next 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, well, I would love to see more options for our youth, more opportunities for them to gather in person outside of school. I want to be supporting our schools and making sure that we are, again, building sustainable options. For our youth, I would love for them to be optimistic about one day owning a home, speaking as someone who is currently not optimistic about one day owning a home. So trying to make sure that we are making decisions. I really like what Matthew was just saying about making sure that we are intentional about what we are developing. So making sure that we have that in mind, and then also just making sure that this is a welcoming community, making sure that we are very openly representing people. I like what you said about that. And making sure that we are making a room for everyone and bringing up all of the chairs to the table. I also really want to make sure that we are making things accessible. I think as we have an aging population, we are really going to be running into more accessibility. So to literally get someone inside the building to get a seat at the table. and to make sure that we also in developments are making sure that we are building more accessible housing as well. So making sure that we are prioritizing both our youth and our older folks and anyone who has a disability.
Thank you. And you, Teresa?
So I think I would focus first on the idea of why most of us came here. Longmont's so big now that, frankly, most of us are not natives, right? There aren't a lot of original Longmonsters around. And I think for those people who came here, at some point, I moved to Boulder County in 1997, and I picked it. I didn't just land here for a job or something. We came here because there were so many things about it that we loved. And the same thing happened when I moved specifically to Longmont. And so a lot of what I would love to see in the next decade is preservation of many of the things that we love about Longmont. The way that we've brought our downtown back and expanding it further into Lodo and then along the river and all of the plans that have been in the works in the city for a really long time. I worked for the city of Longmont for 7.5 years. I've worked in government for more than 25. And I know how these things take a while, and I know what happens if you don't do things well the first time. Right? And so I do think that that's sometimes we rush into things because we're so excited to see it happen. And I would be very thoughtful in remembering that once you do something, it's very hard to do it again. And so it's better to get it right the first time. I think housing is going to be incredibly important. Longmont used to be a place where people in this area could come and find a great home for a young family and afford it. And that's becoming less and less likely, to Meg's point, and that upsets me. And it's not just can you afford to live here, can you afford to buy here if you want to? I think we need more pathways to home ownership, and we need to make sure that we are creating opportunities for the people who work in Longmont to also live in Longmont. Having said that, I go back to being thoughtful. That doesn't, to me, just mean build, baby, build. It means be really thoughtful about each and every development that you are making and what it adds to our housing mix, to our community, and who we're trying to serve with that development.
Thank you. Matthew, you sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission, is that right?
I used to.
So you used to. Okay, thank you. My question for you is what specific changes, if anything, would you advocate for to attract more business to Longmont, given that we're sitting here at a Chamber of Commerce event?
We are?
Crazy, I know.
Thank you for hosting. So I'm gonna take us back in time a little bit to get to that, which is...
Can you do it in 2 minutes?
I can easily do that in 2 minutes, yeah. Time travel is quick, yeah. So if we go back to why I started to get involved in this community in the first place, it wasn't because I had the most experience living here. It was because I work professionally with cities on urban transformation, on re-envisioning downtowns, on creating a sustainable and resilient future for communities. That is literally my day job. And so I looked at what are the kind of key opportunities for Longmont long term. Yeah. So again, we're thinking lower downtown by the transit station. We're thinking Sugar Mill area, River District. And what do those all have in common? They are all part and parcel brownfields or complicated properties to reuse. Sometimes because of the flood, sometimes because of past use, sometimes because of 49 years of neglect in the case of the sugar factory. And in order to take care of that, I offered my professional services in some way as a volunteer to the Brownfield Advisory Committee that was just being stood up to advise and guide where we were spending our resources. From there, I applied to the Planning and Zoning Commission as well to bring that expertise to the Planning and Zoning Commission for when we saw those types of properties. Because there are misunderstandings and myths that come about when you're trying to work with complicated properties that can sometimes get in the way of real progress. And so I thought I could be helpful there. And when the opportunity to apply for city council came up, and I was appointed to city council, one of the first things I did was also ask the mayor if I could chair our urban renewal authority. And that oversees some of the very tools in our toolbox to actually guide that kind of redevelopment. And so the reason I say all of this is because to shape our business community, we have to think about what do businesses need to survive? It's foot traffic and it's customers. And that comes about when you actually have people who are living, working, commuting, and visiting directly to the economic ecosystem that we have. And some of our prime spots for economic redevelopment are entirely empty or vacant or drastically underutilized. And so one of the things I'm most proud of on being on City Council for the last 7 months is this proposal to create an urban renewal innovation zone, which is effectively a planning overlay zone to make it easier to build, rebuild, and attract the types of developers that we actually want for those types of spaces. So that'll help with that immediate kind of near-term investment, but what that does long-term is it creates a much stronger business ecosystem and supports the existing businesses and new businesses. How did I do on the time travel in 2 minutes?
Probably not great.
I was time traveling.
Okay.
I don't really know.
It's a hard.
I think on the whole,
We're
doing
back to the
pretty
future,
well
right?
For time, yeah. So we're doing
Okay.
okay. We're about
Okay.
probably half on this one.
All right, here we go. Thank
So-
you. Thank you for that. Very thorough answer. All right. We'll go to Meg. So Meg, you went to, where'd you go to college? We did do some research, I promise. Let's see here. You went to Kenyon College, right?
I did. And my mom went there too. And when I was a kid, I insisted that she went to Kenya next to Uganda
Okay.
and not Kenyon, which is in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
Well, did you know that William Oxley Thompson, who was the first president of the Longmont College in 1886, he was a Presbyterian minister from Ohio.
Okay.
And Kenyon was a Presbyterian school, I think.
Episcopalian.
It's Episcopalian?
It's Episcopalian.
So there's
yes.
no Presbyterian connection?
Nope, sorry, it was an Episcopal seminary on one end of campus,
Okay,
and then
well-
all the heathens on the other end.
Can we get a fact check on this?
No.
Not on this show, man.
Thanks for strengthening the leadership connection between Ohio and Colorado here with your presence. So
We are giving out stickers, so
let's
if
talk-
anybody wants one, but I will call to mind on there that news is in quotes.
It's very much in quotes. Idle gossip, food chatter, news.
And you got to
Yeah.
be careful because the kids use Ohio as an insult now.
Yeah, I know. My
So,
kids do.
Yeah,
we're gonna
that's
get to
so
that later.
Ohio. Yeah.
So Ohio, only in Ohio. Okay, so you have a social work background.
I do.
So let's talk about housing insecurity and unhoused folks in our community. My question is that so much of housing insecurity is sort of unseen, right? And as much of it, and so much of it's right on display too, and it disrupts sort of peaceful public life. So, given your background, what do you think the city can do to help our most vulnerable citizens while also balancing public safety? 2 minutes.
Okay, let's see. So I think first and foremost, I'm coming at this from a therapist, trauma-informed perspective, and the goal is always to have as many regulated nervous systems as we can. So part of the dysregulation that happens, not only being on the streets, but seeing someone who is suffering on the streets, that is disrupting for everybody's nervous system. So I believe, it benefits everyone to be putting active effort into making sure that everybody has stable housing. So for the people who are struggling with that, I think we need mental health care. We need wraparound services. I really like Recovery Cafe and their mission and way to create a new community for people to stay sober. So I would love to support missions like theirs and incorporate other strategies like that to really be treating people for the underlying trauma that is usually the reason that they're using substances, which usually has, can contribute to being unhoused. And personally, with the people who I work with, I see one adult client who is on Medicaid, and through her story, I have seen that you have a lot of people who get trapped in relationships because that is their only way to maintain a roof over their head. And so I really think that it's important for that perspective as well, that we are fighting for people to be able to afford housing on a single income so that we avoid that situation. And then you bring kids into that formula as well, where then you have, we have to stay in this abusive relationship, in this toxic household, because that's the only way that we keep housing. So kind of with that, I think we also could use a lot more support with shelters, so that way when we have that like one night stuff that you are able to find somewhere, it would be great to have accommodations for pets and children as well, because that's another another big barrier is it's, oh, I really want to leave, but I can't bring my cat. So, stuff like that. So really looking at it from that more mental health perspective, and then definitely, investing resources into making sure that people are getting the care that they need, and that we are not just doing a one-stop shop, like not one-stop shop. That would be great. But making sure that we are providing more than one service. So just putting a roof over somebody's head is not actually addressing the full problem. So I would love to see follow-up care, making sure that they're, getting invested in so that they eventually can come back and contribute to the community.
Thank you. All right, Teresa, you were at the City of Longmont in a marketing and communications role. Is that right? I don't know. Were you there in 2019?
I sure was.
Well, we've got beef because I don't know if I'm a fan of this new logo. I mean, I get it. I get the water and stuff, but I really liked the nondescript Front Range Mountains that every city across Longmont also shared for their logo, but they were my nondescript Front Range Mountains. Thank you very much. But anyway, thanks for your service with the City of Longmont. And are you proud of that work?
The logo in particular?
Yeah, the logo.
No comment.
Hard-hitting journalism here. Okay, so you say you want Longmont to be a place where people can both live and work. You yourself came here not for work. You mentioned that, which I find interesting. So my question for you is, how can we be a place that attracts more employment so that it can be a place that brings people here for work too? And what can the city council do in that regard?
The Longmont Economic Development Partnership has a new director. And when I met with her, I was super impressed with a lot of the ideas that she has. That's the first step, is getting talent in the right seats, because city council can't do it all, right? So you have to make sure that you hire the right people who know how to do these things, because city council can't be experts on everything. They have to be generalists, right? That's part of their role, is to be able to respond and vote and give direction on a whole bunch of things. So you get a really good person in that seat, and then you look at the two kind of different groups of businesses. You have primary businesses that are those big ones, like Amgen was, or like Smucker's, right? And you have to focus on bringing those kinds of businesses to Longmont and hope that you are able and that you put enough incentives in place to attract the kind of businesses. Smucker's is such a good example, right? They have entry-level unskilled workers. They have skilled workers. They have management level. People with all kinds of backgrounds and abilities can find work through Smucker's. They were willing to invest in our community and build out a factory. They aren't just here for a year and then they're gone, right? So that gives some job stability as well, because you don't just want a job. You want a job you're going to have for a while so that you can invest in your community and feel some security. Then there's the small business element that is equally important but very different, because your small businesses are what give your community character. That is what makes people, when they think of Longmont, they think of Main Street, right? They don't think about Smucker's. Smucker's super important. Our big employers, super important. But that isn't what tourists and residents think about when they think of their identity as a person who lives in Longmont. So you need those small businesses. It's really important that we don't disincentivize our small businesses. It's easy to know how to incentivize those large businesses. We offer them tax breaks to come here, build this, do that. But those small businesses in Longmont are suffering death by 1,000 cuts right now. And when some of the most successful business people in our community tell me that they are at best 1/4 away from bankruptcy at any given time, that tells me we are not taking care of our small businesses. And there are things, we place a lot of fees on them. We put a whole lot of impediments in place to them running their business. So back to your point about employment, there's no employment if there's no business. So we have to make sure they stay. Firestone and Frederick are offering huge incentives for people to move their business from Longmont, from Loveland, from wherever to there. We're talking $100,000 ballpark. We have to make sure that we keep our small businesses here and that they're here to employ people and to give our city character.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. I wish we could talk more about these issues in depth, but you listeners just have to go do it on your own. Find these people, read their websites, follow them on social media, ask questions. This is up to you now. So, rapid fire, quick end. Favorite cocktail or taco, worst intersection in town? We'll start with Meg.
Okay, this is tricky. Okay, favorite taco is a tie between a fried avocado taco and a mango fish taco. Favorite cocktail? Well, okay, this is controversial. It's from Vato's Tacos up in Loveland, but that's just because that's my friend who we have Taco Tuesdays together. But for local tacos, it's Summit Tacos all the way, every day. And I'll give them an extra shout out for their pink paloma that I love to death that has hibiscus in it.
We'll call that your favorite cocktail too because it's rapid fire. Keep going.
And worst intersection, oh my gosh, there's unfortunately too many to choose from. I would say, honestly, most of Hover at this point feels overwhelming, and also most of Main Street.
Mr. Popkin, singular.
Thank you. One intersection, singular. Hover and 119. Work in progress there. Favorite taco, I'm going to go more specific than Meg because I also love Summit Tacos. The Nopalitos at Summit, fantastic. And I don't think I have a favorite cocktail.
All right, neutral.
Okay, I'm going to go with Clover Basin and Hover. Hate that intersection. And favorite taco has to be the squashicado from Jefe's. And I just love that. Favorite drink?
It was either or.
Okay, good.
All right. All right, folks, give these guys a hand. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we just got to say extra thanks to our potential city council members for coming on up. It's
Potential.
a ton of fun. Yeah, potential.
Will be.
It's been a good time.
All right,
It's been a ton of fun. Yeah, and we're
At-large
moving into-
candidates, we need you here now.
Yeah, so if we have at-large candidates floating around, I believe we had. Come on up. This is your invitation. It is open. It's going to be a tight fit, I believe. Annie may have to help me quarterback here because it's going to be a lot of notes. I got a ton of notes. Come on, wherever you want to sit. No judgment about who you want to sit by. Hey, good to meet you. Hey, Alex, John, come on in. I think we have two more, so I think it's a tight squeeze. But we do want to thank everybody, truly, for coming on to do this. We're so happy that the city or the chamber put all this on for us. This is a ton of fun. First time we've ever done anything like this. We hope it shows and it's painful because that's just who we are as a show.
Grab that mic. Oh yeah, that
There you
mic.
go, there's a mic
Is
for you.
Projo here? Is he here?
That's the guy.
Oh hey,
There it
I'm
is.
Jake.
What's going on, guys? So, first thing I gotta tell you, these are ice cream cones. This is a microphone. If you want to be heard in the future,
You grab yours there. You want? So we'll start with some nice, even questions, and then introduction. But I'll try to push you a little bit, see what we got. So we're gonna try. Yeah, Steve, come on up. I believe we have enough microphones for everybody. There it is. Yep. Come on up and in. Got Annie's notes there to cheat from, apparently. Yeah, I think that's her notes from the last group. So, what we'll ask, I think, is kind of the same thing that was asked in the last interviews. So I don't know if you guys were listening to.
Sure.
I was having meaningful conversations with other people. I'm so sorry.
That's probably for the best. But what we're saying is basically, what do you call somebody from the city of Longmont? And then thumbs up or thumbs down on Monty the Long Monster. And what's the single most important issue that you're running on this season? So let's start over here. Alex.
So, my full name is Alexander Kalkoffer, but please call me Alex. Unless I'm in trouble, then call me Alexander. Single most important issue that I'm running for is transportation. I'm on transportation board. I'm the chair of the transportation board here in Longmont, and transportation is a really passionate issue for me.
I like the term long monster. I think that's great. And when I started off, I thought that it was all the same kind of things that other people, the biggest issues were like transportation, housing, and I have found talking to people, it's loss of trust in our public officials. So I'm running to really represent the people who live here and make true on our promises.
So Brady, I'm Jake Marsing, running at large Longmont City Council. I would say yes on Long Monster, on the Long Monster, and I would go Long Monster as the answer because I remember riding the bus as a kid. Right, I'm sure Alex is a transportation guy, knows the history of the bus. I struggle between Longmont and Long Monster, but I'm on Long Monster right now. And then the biggest issues I'm running on, without a doubt, it's the question of who are we going to be as a community, right? Are we going to be a place where working people can make it and put down roots, or are we going to become a community that leaves them behind? And I think those are really wrapped up in two issues: housing affordability and early childhood education. If we're not addressing those two core challenges that we're facing and making sure that working families can make it here, it's going to change the character of who we are 5, 10, 15 years from now. So those are the things.
Steve Altschuler. Is that close enough?
Yep, and
okay.
Directly across. Johnny's,
this
he
way.
keeps telling us ice cream cone, and you don't want an ice cream cone when you're talking to people. You want your microphone.
Okay. Steve Altschuler. And Longmonster is really cute, but I'd probably wimp out and just say, I'm from Longmont.
There you go. That works too. Up or down on Monty the Long Monster?
Up or down? Longmonster is fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So it's hard to say just one issue because there's so many things that I think need to be adjusted. I think our current city council doesn't really listen to the people of Longmont. They kind of do what they're trying to take Longmont where they want it to go rather than the people that elected them. So construction, building is a big thing. There are hundreds of vacant units in Longmont with thousands more that have already been approved. 3 years ago, Longmont did a survey. The number one issue in all areas of Longmont was traffic. And if you're building thousands of more units, that's just going to make a lot more traffic.
Sure. Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
We'll pass to John. Full name and...
My name is John Lemke, running at large. Thumbs up to Monty the Long Monster. I have his sticker on my water bottle.
I personally think he's fun, but we've got other people that go, well, not serious enough.
Number one issue for me is housing. For us, it's really difficult in Longmont to build anything but a single-family home and a giant apartment complex. I would like for us to legalize and make it easier to build other things somewhere in between so that it's easy for people to afford them. And I think it's a lot easier to address the traffic issues that Steve is talking about when it's not just giant apartment buildings.
Right. Well, thanks, everybody, for the brief introduction. And I know that almost everybody on almost all of these races is talking housing. So I did want to drill, since we're so short on time, drill on housing just a little bit. So Alex, we'll start again, and we'll just kind of pass this around. I want to know, basically, what's your vision for housing, and what are you going to do to make Longmont a place that works for everybody? Like, specifically, you can drill down.
Yeah, so building on transportation corridors is, I think, the lowest hanging fruit that we can do right away. Let's build where RTD is providing service right now, but also let's look in the future to see what RTD is going to do. Let's build on those transportation corridors. That is the lowest hanging fruit that we can do right now. And then we can also start building on some of these other properties, but matching the diversity of the communities by increasing some density, but not too much, but really blow up on the transportation corridors. Let's make sure that RTD is coming to the table and providing us that transportation that the folks need in the housing that is appropriate for them.
Okay, well, thank you. And we'll pass it next to Regan.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself last time.
No,
Regan
I just want to make
Sage.
sure that you Regan Sage.
Thanks. So I agree that there is no point in creating a ton of housing if there's no way for people to get around. We need to make sure that there is public transport when we are building, especially for higher density, whether that is apartments or smaller homes. I'm a huge proponent for building smaller. It's easier to heat, it's easier to cool, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to clean. I mean, smaller is great in a number of aspects, and we have smaller families than we did years ago. There's no reason to keep building huge houses, and I'm very anti-sprawl. It doesn't make sense with the way the birth rate and population is going. So I think let's build smart where we should be doing it, where we can have public transport, where we can have bike shares. All of that makes a tremendous amount of sense. And I think we need a mix that makes sense to the people who live here. We have an aging population. We need to make sure that they're going to be able to get around. And if they're going to be moving out of a family home into something else that makes sense, let's make it possible for them to do so.
Thank you. And Jake?
We need housing that meets community need, right? So the biggest need that we have in housing right now is for sale 80 to 120% of AMI, that workforce housing that nurses, teachers, professional working class people can buy and put down roots in. That's where our big shortages are. When I was vice chair of our Housing and Human Services Advisory Board a few years back, we were in a unit shortage crisis where we had seen rent prices double, triple very quickly, mass spikes in rentals. We've seen those rental rates flatten a little bit. We've seen prices stabilize, and now community need has changed. When I go out and I talk to neighborhoods and I talk to community, the thing that I hear over and over again is concern about growth and development. Are we growing too fast for our infrastructure? Are we making sure that we're making choices that fit community need? So when I think about the future of housing in the city, I think, okay, what kind of housing can we be supporting that builds and supports working families? I think about True North, and I think a lot of us here do, as the model of a development that works and makes sense, but that development took a ton of public investment. If that's the place that we have to go, I think that's a conversation that the city should be willing to have. But for me, it's about for sale housing that meets community need.
Thanks, Jake. Steve, what are your views on housing and how do they align and differ from what we've heard so far?
Well, just like every other topic, there's 18 different things that go into potentially solving the problem. No, there's not one answer that's going to resolve every problem. One of the things that I'm against, the current city council is talking about raising the height limit from 4 stories to 7, 10, or even 14 stories high. That's going to make for a lot more density. That's going to make for a lot more traffic. But a couple of months ago, I was at a city council meeting, and a very interesting topic. They were talking about ways for people to start getting into home ownership, that the prices of homes are way too expensive, but apartments don't get you in there with inflation and the rise of housing costs and things like that. I don't remember how many years ago this was, 10, 15, 20 years ago, Colorado passed a bill about condominiums, that any builder that builds a condominium is liable for anything that goes wrong for the next 10 years. So all the builders stopped building condos. So it'd be nice to say, let's build condos again and let people start getting into the market, but there are state laws against it. So one of the suggestions that I had, and I've never heard anything about it since then, I don't know if people are looking at it or not, the very first condo that I owned was an apartment building that was converted into condos. They've already got separate meters, they've already got separate addresses, they've already got separate plumbing. It'd be a very easy thing, relatively easy thing to do. It'd just be a matter of paperwork. So I would like to pursue that a little bit further, see if we can take, whether it's a 6-unit apartment building or a 126-unit apartment building, let's see if there's a way we can convert them to condos at a $200,000 price or something, and let lower income people start getting into the housing market so their net worth can increase as property values keep going up.
Okay. Well, thank you. And John, did you want to chime in on this one too?
Yeah, I'm going to go with something a little bit big and bold. I would love for us to change the way that we charge property taxes and move to something called the land value tax, where we reduce how much we tax buildings and only tax the land. So nobody built the land. When you tax buildings, it's one of the only things that you pay a tax on forever. What it does is it rewards land speculators and it discourages efficient use of building on land.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Can I add one thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, jump on in.
I also am very pro people building ADUs, and I want to make it much easier for people to build their own ADUs and rent them out. I think it builds community, and it helps keep money in Longmont homeowners' pockets. Being able to charge a reasonable rate for an ADU behind their home to do that.
Yep. I've seen legislation for that. It's definitely an interesting topic. Maybe we'll get into it sometime when we're doing a thorny episode as opposed to our normal lighthearted nonsense. All right. So, Alex, you talk a lot about transportation. Are there other pieces that you'd like to add, or can you specifically talk about when we're talking about congestion? Because we've all probably lived here long enough to know that it feels like it's getting worse. What would you do? What are the very meaningful ways that you would approach congestion, traffic, to bring that down and make everybody's commute feel a little better, lower pollution, et cetera?
Yeah, so one of the things I would do is we have an imbalance of business growth as well. So I want more businesses to open here in Longmont so people don't have to drive to Boulder. People don't have to drive to Denver. So I want to increase the businesses that are here in town, whether it's small businesses or high-paying, high-skilled jobs. So that's going to keep the folks closer to town. Also, what I want to do is create multimodal transportation. So I'm not telling you to get out of your car, but I want to give the person who wants to ride a bike the opportunity to get on the bike, because then that frees up one extra car for you. I want people to be able to take bike trails. I want people to be able to walk. I want RTD to be held accountable to provide us the service that we rightfully deserve. They keep forgetting about us up here, and I think that if we have a better connected system, it doesn't matter how you're trying to get through the network. If we provide options, not everybody's going to be in a car, and we can move people through our network more efficiently.
Thanks. Yeah, thoughtful answer. And Regan, I'll give you the opportunity to talk transport if you want, or if you'd rather, you can jump in on how you would like to redefine the metrics for the city that define success.
I think I'll talk more about that.
Okay.
So whatever it is that we decide that we want to measure, that's where our attention goes. That's where effort goes. So I think we should, as a community, have some conversations about what changes we would like to see in our city in programs that we already have. If we would like to see more people, of course we want to see people kept in their home, but we want to make sure that we are measuring the things that we can decide if we are doing a good job on those things, and decide if there are better ways for us to do the job that we have decided to do, and keep growing in that way. And I think that needs to be a public conversation to determine where our priorities lie.
So as the community, we should step back and define what we find to be the most valuable, and then to define...
I think so, because if we're just looking at numbers, if we're just looking at how many tax dollars we have, what we're spending on different programs, it's not really telling us how we're succeeding, where people have their priorities in our community. But if our community defines our priorities by what it is that we should be measuring, then we can really focus on that.
And do you have something that if you said, there's one important issue here that I would like to add, I get one vote as a citizen, I'm going to throw this in, what do you think that would be? What would be a metric that you would like to define?
I don't know if I can say it's the one, but I would like to see tourism dollars spent here.
Okay, thank you. And Jake?
I'll hop on Alex's, not on Alex's, so I want to give him a shout out, because I think he, on the transportation question, holds the feet to the fire of the right organization, and that's RTD. I was 9 years old when John Hickenlooper got on TV and said we were all going to get a fast train across the Front Range. I'm 30 with 2 kids, and there's no train, and we're $625 million in. RTD, time and time again, leaves Longmont behind at every opportunity that they get. So if we want to address congestion and traffic, we need reliable service from our transit provider, from RTD, and we need to hold their feet to the fire where we can. The other piece of that equation is mixed-use development, is how can we make sure that there's less of a need for folks to get in their car and go places around town? Can we incentivize the kinds of development that I think you're seeing more of in the city, where it's perhaps residential up top, businesses down below, more of that to create a kind of work-life flow for folks that I think reflects more of the demand that exists in kind of the 21st century environment. But for me, it's RTD, it's mixed-use development, and also it's making sure that as we grow and develop, we are taking into account consistently the way that those developments are going to impact traffic and infrastructure. And I know we have a great engineering department that does a lot of great work, but it's a concern of residents. So.
Sure. Thank you, Jake. And Steve, would you like to jump in on the transportation question, or did you want to talk about something? Okay, perfect. Then I'd love to hear and just to refresh, we're talking about congestion and how we make this city like a wonderful place to live, work, and play, and also to get from one side to the other, because sometimes that's not such a nice thing.
So 25, 30 years ago, 50% of the employees that worked in Longmont came here from other cities, whether it was Boulder or wherever. Now 50% of the residents in Longmont go to other cities to work. Erie, Boulder, Lafayette. That's one of the reasons you have so much traffic. People are going to work. City Council, I think, did a great thing a few years ago in encouraging Costco to come to Longmont. And I believe, and this is normal for most cities, I believe the city put up $5 or $7 million of tax incentive to help Costco come into Longmont. One of the things about me is I've had my own businesses for 35 years, so I look at things different than other people. The city council said, hey, Costco in Longmont would be great, tax revenue. I look at it and I say, hey, Costco employs hundreds of people, stockers and shelvers and checkers and whatever the position is. I don't know, but my question is, did the city of Longmont say, hey, 75 to 90% of your employees have to live in Longmont? I doubt it, because otherwise, if they had, they should have been putting it all over the newspaper saying, look what we've done for Longmont. But those are things, as a businessman, that I look at. And we need to support the businesses in Longmont because they're the ones that do the hiring. And then when people have jobs and they have homes and they pay taxes, everything goes around the business.
Can I ask you if you can offer some specifics about what you would like to do for Longmont businesses? Do you have any specific policy elements that you'd like to highlight?
I would like to find a way to get, for one thing, when I'm elected, I will go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings at least 10 months out of the year and talk to the business people and see what they need, see what will help them be more successful. I believe that any government employee, whether it's city council or governor, mayor, dog catcher, whatever, you work for the people of the area, the people that elected you. And I would like to find out what the people want to have done. Maybe they want a lower speed limit somewhere. Maybe they want some kind of tax incentive for remodeling or doing an extension to their factory or building. So there's a lot of different things, but business people are the lifeblood of every city. And we need to make sure that they're successful, and they're the best ones to tell us what they need.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Steve, for that thoughtful answer. And John, I'm not sure if you want to jump in on this, but I know that you have some other areas that you're interested to, ranked choice voting and those types of things. I'd like to give you the chance to respond since these have been sort of, people are just jumping in.
Sure. There's an upside to congestion that people don't like to talk about, and that is it makes the roads safer. 5 to 10 people a year die in car crashes in Longmont. If we had that many murders, I think that people would make a much bigger deal of it, but we, for some reason, don't get very worked up over car crashes. I think that we should really accelerate making our streets safer to drive on. I bike commute to work, and I bike my girls to work. Being a person outside the car, watching cars drive by, you realize just how crazy our streets are, how inefficient they operate. But when cars slow down because of congestion, there's fewer dangerous crashes.
And what specific changes would you make for that sort of traveling by bicycle? As somebody who cycles, I'm curious what your take is on it.
The one intersection I have to get to, you have to get off the bike in order to hit the button, in order to change the signal, which is pretty difficult to do with my daughters on the bike. I would love it if there was more dedicated ways or protected ways to bike. There's a lot of places where the sidewalk just ends and you have to get in the street, and it's not a wide street. So there are definitely places where there's a cut where you can't make it from a place where you're supposed to be biking to the next place you're supposed to be biking.
There's at least one man right there who's going to be very happy with that answer. Told me today to try to bring that up, and I said, it's a short show, we'll see what happens. But I can sympathize with that because as somebody who tries to bike, it can be difficult if I even just want to buy groceries. Can I cross Hover to get to Target, and then will my bike be there when I come back out? So that I can very much, I can add my heart to that one. So I want to talk a little bit. We've talked a ton about working here, living here, businesses here. The whole issue with minimum wage, I think, is difficult because we hear the business side, we hear the people trying to purchase a home. So what do you think the wage should be in Longmont? Is that going to be a livable wage? And then will that help you buy a home and that type of thing? How do you balance that? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, so I believe that the market should decide on what the wages should be. Growing up, my mother had several restaurants, and she would have loved to have paid all of those folks as much money as she could. But the margins on some of these retails and restaurants are so thin. I think that the market for retail and restaurants, the market needs to decide what the wage is going to be set at. I think what we can do is we can also bring other high-skilled, high-paid jobs into Longmont as well. But when you force a business owner into something, they might either reduce staff, or they might either close down or go over the county line road and go to Weld. So we can have some businesses like in Niwot that move to Longmont because of the $25 minimum wage, or we can let the market decide. As much as I would love to pay everybody as much as possible, I don't think that it's our place as government to force that onto the business owners.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Regan.
I really agree with Alex on this. I think that our small businesses here, which is what make Longmont so interesting and a wonderful place to come and visit and live here, I don't think that they are not paying people because they don't want to. I think that they are trying to do their best to maintain employees, to maintain good employees, and I think the market is a very good indicator as to how to do that. I'm not against people earning more. I want everybody to earn well and be able to live well. I think we should see what we can do about making it a livable city and bringing costs of living to a reasonable level as much as possible. But I don't think that's necessarily the area, and I think we should have more employers here as well.
So Jake, you look like you might disagree. So I'll give you a chance to say, where do you think the minimum wage should be? What do you think that should look like? And part of this is, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
How do you balance business, wage, living?
So I'll start on the business side. I've said 1,000 times, I want Longmont to be the easiest place in the business to open and operate a small business. I want our small businesses to thrive. I also want working families to be able to make it in this city. And when I think about the challenge of a living wage is often a regional puzzle, right? And there are so many other communities in our region that are moving this direction. Longmont is continuing to drag its feet. And I understand why. I understand the challenge that comes with this question. But you look at the data, both studies from the University of Michigan, studies from Berkeley have shown over and over again that when communities in the business community, when cities create a living wage, you raise the standard of living for everybody in the community, you see small price increases, 1% to 2% on average, and you're able to essentially create an infrastructure where folks are able to make it. I don't believe that Longmont should be a community where somebody working 40 hours a week should have to struggle every single day in order to make it. I think that's a core question of the community. Longmont was founded as a community for working folks, right? And if we are going to say, well, the market should dictate every single rate, I agree in an open market. I agree, I believe in markets. I also believe that on this question, as housing prices continue to increase, as the ability of people to simply make a living is fundamentally being challenged, we as a community have to look and say, are we doing enough to support working people? So I support a living wage, and that's something I've been clear about. I believe it's backed by the data. I believe that we can do it in a way that's incremental, that supports our business community. I'm really excited about the Fishbowl next week to hear more from both the business community and hopefully the labor community that up to this point has been left out largely of these conversations. I want them to be at the table as well so that we can have a whole of community approach to this question so that we can make sure that both businesses can make it and that working families can make it too.
And you're mentioning I believe it's this upcoming Monday.
Yeah, the Fishbowl. Yeah.
Yep, there's a Fishbowl conversation that brings people together to talk specifically about minimum wage.
Yeah. And
yep.
No,
just wanted to make sure that we clarify that in case anybody wants to be a part of this, be civically engaged. That is something that's happening soon. It's at the Senior Center. And it's a lovely building.
Yeah, it's going to be well attended. And I get that this is an issue that a lot of folks are concerned about, and I understand it. I understand the fear that comes with that. What I want to say to folks is I put myself in the shoes of our low-income residents in this community, of single parents who are trying to make it and look around them and see prices increasing dramatically and wages not keeping up. We have, I think, an opportunity to make sure that we raise the standard of living for everybody in the city, and that's where I'm at. Okay. So I want to see council take action on that.
Thank you, Jake. Steve, where do you stand on minimum wage and how we balance with business and community?
Well, I also believe in the free market, but I'm curious, how much is a living wage?
I mean, this is the real question, because I believe that the median home price currently is roughly $570,000. And in order to make that payment, how much do you need? And
30, 40, 50 bucks an hour or more?
It's, if somebody has the specific math breakdown on them at the moment, that'd be wonderful. But I don't have the specific breakdown. But like a minimum wage, I believe that over the last 10 years, home prices have roughly tripled, depending on where you're at in the city, and wages have not gone up as much. And so the real question that I think I'm driving at is it possible for a young person in today's market to realistically live, work, and play in this city? And is the dream of homeownership anything that's real and tangible? Or is it something that's evaporated as we've moved through time?
So it was mostly a rhetorical question just for people to think. Everyone throws around the word a living wage, but no one says what that number is. Gavin Newsom did this a year ago, and he raised fast food minimum wage to $20 an hour. And in the next year, there were several thousands of businesses that went out of business, and tens of thousands of people lost their jobs because now it paid for the businesses to get machines to enter people's orders and have fewer people. I think the biggest problem is, and I know this is Colorado, it might be nationwide. The average work week in Colorado now is 34 hours. And the reason for that is some laws were passed that after 34 hours, the employer now has to pay extra benefits, health care and retirement benefits, things like that. So a lot of employers are keeping the hours down for people. So then it's harder for them to earn enough money to buy the things that you're talking about. So, you know, now in California, they're talking about $30 for people that work at hotels. And then our hotel bill will go up from 100 to 130 bucks every night. And then people have to charge more for their business because they're paying more when they go on vacation. All forced minimum wage does is increase inflation. Everything, it raises all boats.
Jake, we'll give you a chance to come back. I'll come back right quick, but I want to make sure that John has a chance to jump in on this too before, because we'll get squeezed eventually on time. So John, can you jump in? Where do you think the minimum wage is? Do you think it's...
I'll tell a couple personal stories. When I first graduated college, I worked as an engineer, right, during the week, and I had a minimum wage job on the weekends with a bunch of other people who had professional jobs. We also had that job paying minimum wage on the weekends. We didn't do it for the money. So if we raise the minimum wage, it would drive those companies out of business, which is it's something I would not necessarily want to see. We are legally allowed, according to the federal government, to set minimum wage different based on the industry, but on the type of employer and a person's age, if they're under 20. If we were going to implement a minimum wage, I would want to see it graduated. The other thing we would need to do is fix our tax code, because what is not apparent to a lot of people is that small businesses without a parking lot pay a tax penalty. If you look at your Butcher Frank, they pay $50,000 an acre in property taxes. Costco pays 15. I don't know how a local business could possibly compete against a large corporation like that when they are paying so much more in taxes. Flip side, I worked for what was formerly the world's most valuable company here in Longmont, and the majority of our folks were on collecting social safety net benefits because they refused to pay people a living wage. And if you're the most valuable company in the world, they could easily have paid it. They just chose not to, and had special days to help people get on those social welfare benefits. And that is one of those things that everybody should be very frustrated by, because they could easily pay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick wrap up. Jake, you can use your time if you'd like to add into this other conversation. But what I wanted to do is make space for people to say, in the next 10, 20 years, what is your vision for the city? What would we be in 2035, 24? Oh my God, that's getting to be really up there. But real quick, because I'm getting numbers flashed at me, we're running low on time.
I want us to be a technology corridor where we have high-skilled jobs. We also have businesses that are unique. I want people to come to Longmont from all of the other cities that surround us, to have us be a destination for us to come and them spend their tax dollars here in our city. I want people who live here to be able to work here. I want people who don't live here to be able to come here and spend their money here. I want more big businesses that anchor people in, and then I want the unique businesses that can be here to have them spend their money, go to breweries like Left Hand, or go to cool coffee shops like Junebird Goods. I want people to be able to have transportation that they can get around with, and I want people to have attainable housing. I think we need to have prices at different levels for different people in different stages of their lives.
Thank you. Regan.
The best place to live and a great place to visit. I think we want a thriving downtown. We want a beautiful green barrier around us, agricultural land, green space for people to come to visit, enjoy. People who live here thrive in that space.
And Jake?
I want Longmont to be a city that works for everybody, and that means a place where working class people can put down roots just like they have since the 1870s when people came out here from Chicago. I want Longmont to be a place where you don't have to struggle every single day to be able to make it, where the community is investing in the things that support working people, where we're investing in early childhood education, where it's possible for folks to be able to work and afford to take their kids to daycare and then be able to have a job that pays the bills, where they can buy a home and put down roots here if they choose to. And that's the real challenge, I think, facing us, is are we going to be a community that leaves those folks behind? Are we going to become a place where only wealthy and well-established folks can make it? And that simply is just not the Longmont that I know. It's not the Longmont my family's been in for 4 generations. It's not the community I think we are. So I want us to be a place where folks can make it.
Thank you, Jake. Steve, what do you think? What would you like to see in the next 10 to 20 years for this city?
I'm actually going to be a little bit different in my answer. I moved here 20 years ago, and there's a lot of people that have been here 30 years and more. The question is, why did they move here? Why did people move here 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago? They moved here because it was open space. It was a nice, quiet, calm living lifestyle. There were good jobs. A lot of people I knew worked at Mac Store. You can see the mountains. You can go hiking and biking at open space. People are very friendly because it's not Boulder. It's not Denver. So I don't want to see Longmont. One of the city council members told me that they think the population of Longmont should be between 135 and 150,000 people. That means almost 50% more people, 50% more cars, 50% more traffic. I don't think that's why people move to Longmont. So businesses need to be successful. We need to hire locally and cut down traffic. People need to make a good living wage, but we don't need to become Denver.
Thank you, Steve. And John, you get the last word.
I'm going to plug ranked choice voting because I want Longmont to lead the way in representative democracy. All the problems, I believe, truly, the problems that we're talking about aren't going to get solved until we have a more representative democracy. For people who don't know, the winning threshold for this race is 20% plus 1 vote. If the vote gets split, that is how much you need to win. That means that you can win with only listening to 20% of the population of our city. I don't want that to be the case anymore. There isn't a single race that's happening where somebody has to get over 50% to win, because every single race is going to get split, and I think we need to have a more representative democracy for all these problems to get fixed.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. We really do appreciate you taking the time to come up and talk to us. Yeah.
We don't get the time.
Thanks, Brady.
Anybody that's listening, we really do appreciate it. So we're going to move on, and next will be our mayoral session. A smaller group. I appreciate you guys sitting up here, even though I didn't have Annie to help me out.
Hey, no, it's good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the taco question.
Thanks.
But we'll take
Yeah.
it.
Thanks, Jake.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. You can have a sticker, Jake, if you want. Yeah. Absolutely. Got stickers over here.
Welcome. You can come sit here with me. I want to shout out those who have been listening this whole time. You are the true nerds. You are civic nuts. I love you. Shout out to our supporters, Kelsey, Chad. Thank you. All right, one more shout out, though, to Johnny. Where be Johnny? Mr. Johnny, everyone give him a hand. He's our producer, and he is making this happen. We love you, Johnny. All right, So we're going to take this next half hour to talk with the City of Longmont mayoral candidates. Welcome. We have 4. Who are you?
Susie Hidalgo Ferrin.
You're Susie. Sarah. Okay, hang on.
You're missing me. Remember I said they put me in the wrong group?
Yeah, we are missing you, Diane.
And are we
Sorry,
like
we'll get
the
to you.
last group or
You
second
are
to-
the last group.
So okay, so look at the
Good thing we're
last
friends
page.
already. Don't you worry. We got you. Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right, welcome. So we are going to do the same thing we've done already, and I want you to say your name, please. Thank you, Susie. Say your name, say your favorite Longmont demonym, which is to say, how do you call someone who lives in Longmont? Are you thumbs up or thumbs down on Monty the Long Monster, who was just around here and I was forced to take a photo with? And what was the last thing? Oh, what is the main issue that you are running on for mayor? All right? Start with you, Sarah. Here, get your mic.
Oh, I get my own mic.
Yeah, you get your own mic.
Do you know it's really
You're so
dangerous
special.
giving somebody who's running for office their own mic?
I know.
That's very
That's
dangerous.
why we're being mean and managing time.
Excellent. My
Go
name.
ahead and hold that right up there.
Eat the mic. Okay.
I know.
Sarah Levison, running for mayor. Well, I think people being called long monsters are interesting, or Longmonters. I like either term. Let's see. What was some of the other questions?
Thumbs up or thumbs down on Monty the Long Monster?
He's apple shaped and it looks hot in there, and he's purple.
Okay.
And is he violent like the Philly Fanatic? I
That
don't
was
know.
a really politician-y answer. You didn't give me
Yeah.
the thumbs up or down. I'm gonna force you.
You know what? I
Thumb up
only
or
just
thumb
met.
down?
I only just met him.
No, thumbs up or thumb down. Let's go. I'm
I
going
guess
hard.
thumbs up. We
Okay,
don't have
there you go.
another
All
one,
right,
do
all
we?
right. Okay. No, and what are you
Not-
running on? Why are you running for mayor?
Well, my main issue is to end the city sales tax on food that you're preparing at home. A terribly regressive tax, 3.53%, hurts working families, seniors. Loveland just ended theirs by citizen initiative. Denver ended theirs in the 1970s due to the regressive nature. So I want to make sure that people can afford to live in Longmont.
Thank you. All right.
My name is Shaquille Dalal. I am running for mayor. I am. Sorry, you got to remind me of these questions. There's too many.
Longmont demonym.
Oh yeah, Longmonter, 100%, and I'm definitely a thumbs up on Monty. Yeah, Monty's an A+ mascot. I think symbols really matter, and something that is fuzzy and lovable is pretty excellent. The reason that I am running for mayor is because Longmont is an excellent city to live in if you can afford to live here, but there are a number of problems that have been getting worse over the past decade, and I think that we need new people bringing new ideas and new perspectives to city council. I am the only candidate who is running for mayor who can do that.
Thank you. Susie?
Thank you. So I'm Susie Hidalgo Ferrin. I'm currently Mayor Pro Tem to the City of Longmont. And I go by, I mean, I used to say I'm from Longmont, but Long Monster has really grown on me. So I've often said that. But I do have to explain what Long Monster is to people who don't know. And yeah, I'll give him a thumbs up. Yeah.
And what are you running on?
So, one main issue. So I am running on ensuring that we have sustainability, that Longmont is a warm, welcoming community that it is, and we are offering that sustainability and resiliency to keep our city strong, and remember why we moved here to Longmont to begin with.
All right, Diane.
I'm Diane Christ, and I've had some more time to think about this. I think Longmontvillean sounds good,
Something brand new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if all of life is a stage, we are the actors, right? I don't see Monty around, but I also had my photo taken with him or her, and that costume looks awfully hot. So I think Monty's great in the winter. Okay, so my platform, if I were going to call it a platform, consists of beauty, science, and business. And we can talk more about that as you ask questions, but it pretty much boils down to those three items.
Thanks, Diane. All right, we're going to come back to you, Sarah. All right, You used to be on city council, right? From kind of in the teens, the 20 teens, somewhere in there? 7 to 14?
2007 to 2015.
To 2015, okay. Tell us something totally irrelevant about the council chambers. Like what goes on behind? It smells very beige, you know? Maybe like the library. You got any little insider tips about something the public doesn't know about the chambers?
They remodeled the chambers since the time I was sitting behind the desk.
Oh, well,
so it's totally different.
Okay.
So it's all new to me what's there right now.
How about something from back then?
Well, I think that the chairs weren't very comfortable.
That's a total.
And it's a long meeting sometimes.
Those are long meetings.
It is.
So maybe they got new chairs.
I think they did get. You got new chairs, didn't you? Yeah. Better cushioning.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sarah, you say that you want to promote policies to attract new businesses and high-paying jobs. What kind of high-paying jobs do you have in mind? And how can Longmont compete with other markets in attracting these jobs?
Well, Longmont's been kind of the nexus for a lot of high-paying jobs already. We had Digital Globe before they got purchased by Maxor. Well, 2 purchases. Amgen, a lot of high-tech jobs, and we also have a thriving number of jobs that are aerospace contractors. People that my husband's in the aerospace business, but it's a lot of contractors that supply instruments to NASA projects and other entities. And a lot of our very high-tech business, high-paying jobs are invisible almost. And I think that it's difficult. The city can focus on those big major players, but it's really the little guys that are building the widgets that are brand new and they're getting patents on them that are the ones we need to pay attention to. And they're not coming to the city to look for incentives. They don't have staff, 5 staff members looking to grab incentives. So again, maybe we're not supporting them and we need to get to know them better.
Interesting, thank you. All right, I'm gonna come back to you, okay? Shaquille.
What up?
All right, Shaquille, your campaign theme is more walk, less talk,
More
or
walk,
among
less talk.
other things. Okay, and I think you would classify yourself as a non-NIMBY, right?
I am a non-NIMBY, yes.
Okay, I got a joke. Why don't NIMBYs play chess?
Why don't NIMBYs play chess?
They would block any move that develops the board.
Ooh, that is a great chess joke. I used to play chess when I was in middle school and high school because I am that kind of nerd. And the first chess tournament I ever went to, I was in 9th grade, and I got the pants beaten off of me by a 6-year-old.
It's humbling, motivating.
Yeah,
right?
it was very humbling.
It's good. All right. Well, let's talk housing.
Let's talk.
You're an advocate for increasing middle housing in Longmont, like duplexes, triplexes, and townhomes. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
What specific changes would make it easier to increase this type of housing?
The most basic change that we could make is that right now, 65% of the city is zoned for only the most expensive type of home. And that is a key factor of why housing is expensive in Longmont. And so the most basic change that we could make would be to add a letter P to the table that says you can build a townhouse in those areas. And in doing so, you will create more opportunities for young families that are trying to buy into Longmont, but you'll also create opportunities for people whose kids have moved away and need to downsize into something that they are more capable of taking care of as they age, so that they are able to age gracefully in their community without having to move far away. So many people buy a home because it's a wealth building asset and an asset that they count on to retire, but you can't eat your house. And so you have to have a way to get access to that wealth. And the conventional answer to that is to take out a HELOC, but now what you've done is you're aging in debt. What we should instead do is allow people to say, well, and my fiance's parents are actually doing this right now. They are moving out of the 2 floors of their house and into the 1st floor. And now they're just going to have a vacant 2nd floor of their house because our zoning code says that it would be illegal for them to sell the 2nd floor of their house to a young family that would like to move into their neighborhood. We should fix that. That is in our power to do.
Thank you, Shaquille. All right, Susie. You work for the school district, right?
I do. 22 years in the school district.
Thank you very much for
Third grade
your
bilingual
service.
teacher.
Okay, and you're a teacher of what grade?
3rd grade bilingual.
3rd grade bilingual. All right.
Yes.
Get us hip to some of the latest kids slang. There was a reference earlier to Ohio, but you got any tips to keep us all relevant? What are they saying?
Well, my kids are often Spanish speakers.
Sure, give us something
so I
Spanish.
was like, I'm trying to think. It was like, no, I can't think. I've heard hot minute.
Hot minute, yeah.
So minute.
Yeah.
And then if it's a longer time, it's a hot minute.
Okay.
And
okay.
I'm like, okay.
That doesn't make any sense, but that's
It
great.
makes absolutely
All
no
right.
sense to me.
If
And
you
I
think
was
of any
like,
more,
okay.
let us know. I like to know. Okay, so you advocate for an attainable housing fund. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, I
Tell
do.
us where you think this money will come from and how it will, spending money on that would prevent it from driving costs further in a town where
Okay.
it's struggling with affordability.
So when we brought up the attainable housing fund, so it was carving money aside to put into that fund, similar to how we run the affordable housing fund. And with that allows us, it opens the door for public-private partnerships. So currently we have the True North project, and it's providing 185 permanently, it was like 185, I think that was right, permanently affordable and attainable housing for purchase. So my big focus is looking at for purchase opportunity so that people can have an opportunity to build equity into their homes, and that helps to bring down costs in the area as well. So we, looking at that whole nuance piece, and again, when we're looking at affordable housing and changing code, and we're making these incremental changes, but also understanding staff capacity so that they can address these issues as they come up, handling the permitting process. Deciding whether or not some of the changes that are actually working so we can go back and revise. So taking that really strategic approach and looking holistically and making sure that we are building, looking at higher density in transportation corridors, looking at lower density in some of the more the infill spaces or neighborhood areas that has the traffic to support that, but also looking at other staff impacts to that. So as we're building housing, let's look at fire, let's look at police. I talk to their unions all the time, and we're hearing so much concern about not having the staff capacity to meet the needs as we grow. So really focusing on sustainable growth, but that is affordable.
Thank you.
There was a lot.
Yeah, no. Okay, Diane, hello.
Yes, hello.
I'm going to let you just expand on what you kind of mentioned earlier in your what you're running for. Go ahead. You planted a seed. I'm curious now.
Okay. I know you've asked the others. I'm actually a business development accountant in town.
Okay.
So I help businesses develop and become prosperous and
Well, I didn't
and
ask her about the
profitable.
profession. Shaquille, I just said, was a non-NIMBY, which I don't think is his day job.
It is not a paying job.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Cool. But
yes.
yes.
there's jobs and there's
Okay.
jobs.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Go on.
So I know we're talking about housing right now.
No, you can go ahead and talk about what you mentioned in your vision for Longmont, or
Oh, okay.
what you were writing on your platform. You said art.
Yeah,
What
no,
years?
beauty.
Beauty.
One of the things
Okay, go
we
ahead.
really need
Yeah,
to focus
take the floor
on
for a couple
is
minutes.
the beauty of our beautiful town. And one of the things about it is that we have to protect our open space and our conservation easements that protect our open space. We need to really work when we're talking about housing on the right place, the right time, and the right types of projects. I'm not in favor of the height change. I would like to see nothing over tree height, which is about 4 or 5 stories, and those 4 or 5 stories is high enough to have elevators in, so that makes it more accessible for seniors to move into. When we're talking about science, we're talking about innovation and scientific inquiry. I think one of the other candidates talked about the Chicago colony when they came here and bought this beautiful plot of land. They realized we didn't have enough water. And their first thing was, let's secure the water. And they dug by hand all those ditches. And the plan was always to keep Longmont at about 104,000 persons. And one of the reasons for that is, yes, we have a lot of water thanks to our founders, but that water feeds the whole West. and all of their agricultural lands all the way down to Mexico. And if you're not aware, the Colorado River is the most dammed river in the United States. So it's a huge responsibility for Longmont. We need to consider that when we're looking at growth. Now, that being said, we have used innovation and science to do some really unique buildings. If you look at Prospect and actually up in my ward, we have really nice transitions between single-family homes, duplexes, condos, and apartments. And you almost don't notice that, oh, all of a sudden this is an apartment, because it works with the neighborhood. So just going back to that beauty piece, is how we do it is important as well. Now, when it comes to business, business is the biggest community and best community member that we have. Businesses are the engine that fund all of this. That's where all of our tax base is. They provide through sales tax, property tax, payroll taxes, and we need to look at our cost of living. So one of the things we have to do is apply some good economic principles. Those are generally to improve production and to reduce burdens on business. And so we had one meeting where I said people had been sending me their burdens, and I had a list of about 22 items, and someone said, I'd like to see that list. So I put it together, and I actually had 43. And we came to the conclusion that's about an extra $1,500 a year per person that is costing people. And just one other mention when it regards to housing is I was at a Attainable Housing Summit, and one of the financiers said they think a lot of the gap funding that we're doing is actually driving up the price of housing. It seems like the more we build, the more expensive it gets. So we need to examine that.
Thanks, Diane. All right, Sarah. All right, we're going to be quick here. You said that you've seen a decline in participation on commissions and boards from residents. Is that true? That you've seen a decline in participation in city boards and commissions by residents to engage and contribute their ideas. I'm curious, what do you think is the reason for this decline, and how do you propose making it more appealing and accessible to residents to increase participation?
Well, it really bothered me when I saw that planning and zoning absorbed another board. And specifically, the boards that I'm talking about is the Board of Variance and Appeals and the Board of Adjustments. And those are really, they need expertise in a field of building and construction. And so we had very strong participation from our local builders in those two boards historically. And it really is fascinating that none of them are willing to volunteer their time anymore. And I think that it's uncharacteristic of Longmont, number one, but very much characteristic of the society the way we're living now. People feel isolated. People feel that they're not welcomed in to be involved. And one of the proposals I've written up is that I want to take a portion of the capital improvement budget and throw it out to everybody in Longmont to come up with a project and see what people come up with. This is something that was done in Chicago. Every ward alderman got a certain amount of dollars in the capital budget, and alderman in Ward 49, who I knew, Joe Moore, he got written up and it became a real program for the city of Chicago. He let his residents decide on the projects, whether it would be sidewalks or trees or improving a playground. I'm not going to imagine what the innovative and smart people in Longmont will come up with, but our budget belongs to everybody. If you talk about the amount of taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, use taxes, if you have a business in Longmont and live here, I really feel that to get people involved, we have to give them some control over the budget. And I really want to see people step up and understand where their money is going. And I think what I saw in Chicago was it really got residents in this ward involved. And they worked with city staff to develop the projects and make sure that it was something that was doable. And they took pride. And it was really a marvelous turnaround.
All right. Good luck with that. Thank you. Shaquille, let's see. You've said you support a local minimum wage to prevent exploitative pay, but also criticize Boulder County's minimum wage, which will be $25 by 2030. What do you think is the right minimum wage for Longmont, and how do you reconcile this with the need to make it more competitive for businesses to operate in Longmont?
So I think you're right. I do favor raising the minimum wage. I think that the right minimum wage for Longmont is a minimum wage that a person can actually afford to live here with. This is calculated every year. Right now, the living wage in Longmont, to my understanding, is $26.18 in comparison to our local minimum wage of $14.79. Now, we have to get there, but we have to get there in a way that preserves local businesses, because creating a massive disruption by going straight from $14.79 to $25 or $26.18 is going to destroy so many local businesses. The way that you do that is you have to commit to raising the minimum wage on a regular basis in the way that Boulder County did. What I criticize about what Boulder County did is that by locking in the wage increases 5 years in advance, you lose the ability to adapt to future situations. So, for example, if there were a major economic disruption that might happen due to wild swings in federal policy, which is a thing that could happen, now you've put elected officials in a position where instead of voting to raise the minimum wage, they are going to have to vote to lower the minimum wage. And that is even more politically untenable. And so I do think that we need to take incremental steps to get closer to a living minimum wage. Part of why this is important is because I think there are a few major misconceptions about the minimum wage. The first one is that nationally, about half of people who make the minimum wage are parents with children. The minimum wage is not a wage that is just made by teenagers who are looking for pocket money. The other thing is that 9% of people who live in Longmont have a job that makes the minimum wage right now. And given that we are a city, nine. And given that we are a city right now where to be able to afford the average home, your family has to make $200,000 a year, which only 10% of Longmont households make, that gap is untenable as a society that seeks to take care of everyone that is within it. Another piece of that, though, and a core responsibility of City Council, is you have to make sure that when you raise people's wage, you don't enter a wage price spiral. You have to make sure that when you raise their wage, that their dollar actually goes further and that they can actually buy more. And that is why City Council also, I believe, needs to take more action on the cost of living and to take steps so that when businesses pay their employees more, those employees can then afford to buy more, including, ideally, a better place to live, more food for their kids, higher quality food for their kids, entertainment in our community. And then the other piece of that is that once you do that, then you reach a situation where the pressure to raise the wage constantly and the pressure to constantly always have to make that next dollar and travel to other communities to make more money goes down. And that holistically and systematically can address so many of our other challenges.
Thank you. All right, Susie. Let's see here. Sorry, I was not ready. Sorry for the pause. Okay, you advocate for expanded access to affordable, high-quality preschool and childcare, yes?
Yes, I do.
Given the education funding in Colorado primarily comes from property taxes and state allocations, what can the city of Longmont do to address this?
So again, it's coming back to looking at our public-private partnerships. We currently entered into an agreement with the Learning Center. So we have the facility that they're building over on 119 and 3rd. And in that space, we've been able to acquire spots for city employees, for childcare, but also a learning conference area or learning space to foster more, building that pipeline for educators to come into the field. Because the other piece is the lack of quality, well-trained people who are interested in becoming early child care providers. And so working with that, working with our children, our home and family child care, our FFN network, and building that coalition and supportive network, supportive systems so they can appropriately and adequately provide positive and well quality child care, especially for the 0 to 3. And then what was the other part of your question? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so looking at public-private partnerships, I also sit on the Early Childhood Coalition through the Boulder County, and we're looking at options that could include a regional approach. Looking at the district. The district already has several systems in place that we could work with them and feed off of that piece that addresses that the child care crisis that we're dealing with right now, and then we could provide lower child care costs for residents who need that option.
That's good. Okay, thank you, Susie. Diane, I hope you don't mind, but we're going to jump into our rapid fire round. We did have you earlier, and we really love how you expanded a lot on your vision previously. So I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
But you already know the answer. I did this earlier with you. Favorite taco or favorite cocktail in town? Worst intersection in town? And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. What should the local minimum wage be if we were to vote for one? Or you can decline that too.
Okay.
Maybe start with the minimum wage. End on a high note, okay?
Well, or let's start with the most negative. The most dangerous intersection in town is at Main and 119. So
that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tacos, Summit Tacos, because I do vegetarian. And if we're talking minimum wage, it should definitely be decided by the market. You know, one of the problems is that when government starts trying to control both the inputs and the outputs for business, now you really don't have an economy. The one thing we can do, there's two ways to adjust the cost of living. One of them is through increased revenue, and that means more local economy. So we need to get through this together. We need to start buying in town, locally, and from our neighbors. You know what the people you know what they do for a living, support them. And then secondarily, as a city, we can work to reduce expenses and burdens on businesses. And a lot of that will bring down costs, even insurance costs, if we work on it.
Thank you. Susie.
Repeat the question, please.
Best taco, best cocktail. What should the minimum wage be? Worst intersection in town.
Okay, so let me start with the minimum wage. I think the minimum wage should be really determined by looking at what businesses can afford, but also what brings people closer to hitting that target mark where they're...
So TBD.
So TBD, yes.
Okay, TBD.
And I'm really excited about the fishbowl. I really want to hear what businesses have to say and what we could do as a city to look at tax credits, looking at other means to kind of reduce the pressure so they can pay their employees more.
Best taco.
Best taco. I think. Let's see. Oh, I love the tacos at Las Palmeras.
Sweet.
That's my place.
That's a different one
I'm
we
there
ever
every
heard
week.
Yet. Nice. Best cocktail?
Best
cocktail.
Cocktail. Oh.
It can be NA.
It could be what? Non-alcoholic. Oh, non-alcoholic. No. Oh my gosh. I'll go with margarita.
Margarita, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And worst intersection in town?
I'm going to go with 119 and Sunset trying to turn left.
Nice.
Oh my
Very
gosh.
specific. I like it. All right, Shaquille.
The best taco in town is from a food truck whose name I honestly do not know. It is at Maine in Delaware. It's a black truck, I believe, and they have a storefront that you can go and sit in, but has almost no amenities of any kind, but there is a toppings bar in there that is on fire. I love that place. I wish I knew their name, but honestly, when I want a taco, that is where I go. Best cocktail in town, I actually really like the non-alcoholic cocktails at Dryland Distillers. I do drink, but there is just... I like to take my friends who don't drink to Dryland Distillers because they get treated like equals and other people who just want a nice fancy drink to hang out and talk with their friends. And then I think my least favorite intersection in town is probably the intersection of 3rd and Francis. And this is biased because it is near my home. The city just made some improvements here, but it just needs a crosswalk. We could have a crosswalk there, and there should be a crosswalk there, and it drives me crazy because There are so many kids on that side of town who walk to Central Elementary who would have a safer walk if there was a crosswalk there. And I think I would love to see us look more holistically at those kinds of things and say, how do we create a culture of walking?
And I'm going to cut you off on the minimum wage because I got you on that one.
That's fair. Yeah, I
Incremental.
got an opinion. You know what it is.
All right, Sarah.
So Shaquille, I think you just threw out the first idea for the participatory budgeting for the CIP. There you go. And I hope somebody takes it and runs with it. Minimum wage, I think we want to listen to what the dynamic is in town. And when the minimum wage is different in different parts of your region, it really determines who's going to be able to come to Longmont. And if you want to look at it from the sustainability aspect, if we pay much more money, people are going to be driving from Firestone and Platteville because we pay $1 more an hour, maybe, some employers. But then people aren't actually going to earn more money because they're driving that car all that way. And it's contributing to a lot more pollution. Tacos, I love birria, and I just was actually at Birria Donna Maria on North Main Street. They do a wonderful birria taco. I mean, birria is amazing.
Cheese, fried, can't go wrong.
Every
So good.
that restaurant in particular is super duper good. And as far as dangerous intersections, Hover and the Diagonal, and Hover and Nelson. Terrible accidents there. I mean, I know friends who have almost been killed at those two intersections.
Well, on that cheery note, mayoral candidates and rapid fire don't really go together, or I wasn't clear with my instructions. But thank you. As we said last time, this is not enough information for all of you. Please go do your own research. You've seen them in the flesh. You've heard a little bit about what they're all about. Continue to do your research. And where's my co-host, Brady? There he is. There's Brady Steffel. We are SideDish Longmont. We are a podcast that is about everything you want to know and very little that you need to know. We are loose gossip. We are barely news. We have buzz. We come out every week, every other week. We got Johnny on the spot, who is our producer.
There he is.
Thank you to the Chamber of Longmont for inviting us here. Thank you for putting up with us. We really appreciate you showing up here today to share your thoughts. Thanks to the City of Longmont. This is the best place on earth. We love living here. We love all of our idle gossip about Longmont. Get out the vote.
Get out the vote. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. We really do.
We have an encore. So if you want to stick around for a few more minutes, we've got a couple other people with a few words. So this is Tara Menza.
Tara Menza, yes.
Tara Menza. This is Mayor Peck. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to turn over the mic to Tara, who is in charge of public policy for
the Chamber
of Commerce.
Exactly. So just a quick plug for the Public Policy Committee sponsors. We are sponsored by Swire Coca-Cola, Platte River Power Authority, and My Wealth Planners. And we are very grateful for their sponsorship because we meet once a month for about an hour and a half. We have 19 members who are members of the Chamber. And during the legislative session, we go through bills that might affect our small businesses, our employers, our employees, our community members, the businesses that are the heart of our community. And we talk about things that are important to our businesses and their employees that are in those bills that might affect them. And we track and we monitor those bills. We either take a position to support the bill, oppose the bill, monitor the bill, or even possibly suggest amendments. So it's a pretty big job, and we really enjoy the committee that does that for our small businesses here in town.
Sounds riveting.
It's very exciting. And you know what? If you're a chamber member, feel free to join our committee. You do not have to be a policy wonk. I'm not a policy wonk, but it is a lot of fun to learn about what's going on at the state and local level.
Thank you, Tara.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sign me up. All right. And Mayor Peck, thanks for joining us. How was this
Sure.
for you? Did you learn some things?
Oh, I always learn things.
Was it hard to bite your tongue? Were there times where you had to stand up and say, yeah, tongue in cheek? Okay.
And I wanted to say I have presented to the policy committee at the chamber, and I think it's great. I love that it's so diverse. You know, there are so many different ideas and people and businesses. So it's really fun to talk to because it's not just one ideology, or it's really great. So
and we're all in it for the same thing.
Yes,
Right.
we are.
So,
Support
Mayor
our
Peck,
business.
you're not rerunning for office.
No, I'm not. And it's
So-
very fun listening to everybody
bet.
who's running.
All right,
Because they're going to solve it all.
I got a hard one for you. Who are you going to vote for?
I really can't go there. You know that.
Thought I'd try. You never know. Word is out. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think with that, honestly, Brady, unless we got anything else, we really will let you go now.
Yeah, we'll actually let you go. I will say we were told exactly what we were supposed to do in rough math for the rest of it, and then they're like, and here's a couple more names added to the end. So we appreciate you coming on, telling us.
Fumbled the ball a bit there, sorry.
Yeah, because it's our first time. So
Oh, absolutely.
thank you for being nice about it.
Super fun.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
everybody.
All right,
Well,
enjoy
thank
the rest of
you.
this event.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I want to say that as mayor, I'm very excited to see all the young people that are interested in running for our council. And for mayor, it's going to be a slog through. There's so many, though. But it's really heartening to listen to all their ideas and that they're really interested in Longmont. So go.
Go vote.